My Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is following in the footsteps of a long line of attorney generals of the state of Texas that basically are, in my opinion, anti-democratic, and they basically are anti-constituent, okay? This guy, along with our governor, Abbott, have, put together some of the most voter suppressive laws in the country behind North Carolina. And they make not like black people all that much, but these guys hate Mexican Americans. And I am not going to bite my tongue when I say that. They have done a lot of stuff to knock down the rights of Hispanic Americans, Mexican Americans in this state. They allow police a lot of carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want to do when it comes to dealing with black people, but in particular Mexican Americans, because they believe, and I guess it's borne out, that although black people will push back against them quite a bit, the Mexican American community here really doesn't. I'm going to play this clip where Paxton lays out his points of view. And honestly, yeah, I just shake my head, and I'm hoping that if this guy runs again for Attorney General, there's some kind of grassroots movement to get him removed.
Ken Paxton joins me from Dallas. Good day, sir.
Appreciate having me on. I've been looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So let's start with your core argument, not whether this is the perfect policy or everyone agrees on it. You filed a friend of the court brief backing up the president, saying he has this legal authority. Why?
Yeah, we cited federal law, a statute that we think the court missed, which says that the president has the right to restrict entry for as long as he wants if he views the class of aliens to be potentially detrimental to the country. And so all we're saying is the court should have looked at that law and addressed that instead of considering due process rights of non-resident aliens.
Okay, number one, what he's saying is 4 judges missed that. Now, if they were all democratically appointed, maybe they could have missed it. But 2 of the judges were Republican president appointed. So you're saying all 4 judges missed this? Nah, I don't think so. They probably didn't miss it, but they considered, as they wrote in their briefs, the fact that, number one, the president is subject to oversight. Even though he is the chief executive, the judiciary still can rule his actions unconstitutional, which basically it looks like they were getting ready to do, which is why the Trump administration asked the court to pull back from their decision in reviewing this, because it is the Trump administration's position is that they're going to rescind that particular order and issue a new one. So if they were so sure about winning, they would have kept going. But for you to have the hubris to think that you found something that the court didn't, again, you know, that's just these government officials here in Texas that think that fat meat's not greasy and their shit doesn't stink.
And in your brief, you also go into this debate about what the president said when he was a candidate. And you say these kind of challenges cannot be based on comments the president made during his campaign for office. Why do you claim that?
We just think it's unusual to base a legal opinion on campaign rhetoric. We think it should be based explicitly on federal law, and that's why we focus exactly on that, because this is a decision about the law, not about campaign rhetoric.
Yeah, but it's also a question of intent, my friend. And during the campaign, he intended to do this. And after he became president, he repeated the fact that he wanted to keep his campaign promises, and this was one of them. So intent, as far as the law is concerned, also plays a part.
As you know, other attorneys general have taken different views here. There's a lot of debate. I want to play for you your colleague, if I can put it that way, from Washington State, who brought one of the challenges that was victorious, at least on this very first procedural round. Take a listen.
Yes, Texas did file in support of the president. They're a bit lonely at this point, and my understanding is no other state has joined them. But more importantly and more substantively, yes, of course, the president has broad authority when it comes to issuing executive orders, when it comes to immigration. However, those powers are not without limit.
Now, this is not a party or a popularity contest, but do you care to respond to the idea that you are lonely, as the Attorney General put it, or that not every other state's lining up yet?
Look, we're a big state. We have almost 28 million people, so I don't feel that lonely.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't feel that lonely because you have quite a few people that are siding with you. But at the same time, you have quite a few people that are siding against you that are protesting and demonstrating in the streets. So for you to believe that you have the higher moral ground here, that's a bunch of bullshit.
It obviously affects our state in a bigger way that we think than maybe other states, because we are a border state. Washington and Minnesota are not. So, you know, we're fine with it. We're fine because we feel like we're right on the law. So that's really what this is about, not because we're filing individually or whether we had 20 states. It's about the law.
Yeah, but funny thing is Arizona, which is also a border state and which is controlled by the Republicans, funny that they didn't join your action as well.
As you know, a lot of these claims are legal and they're different from what we hear in public. But one overlap, something that the White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said and others have said that is also in your brief, so it's sort of a public, political, and legal argument I'll put up here, is that these country-based criteria don't even cover a large percentage of Muslims in the world. That is certainly accurate. But I wonder what the claim is there. I mean, if you imagine a government policy that said we are going to prevent, say, 10% of Jews around the world from entering the country, it might not affect the majority of Jews, but certainly I think you would agree that would be the type of discrimination that targets some and is thus suspect.
Now notice he's going to dance away from the question and try to take another tack, but Ari, to his credit, is going to try to bring him back to this particular question. Just because you don't discriminate against all Jews or all Muslims, that doesn't mean that what you are doing is not discriminatory against Muslims, even some Muslims. The number doesn't matter when it comes to discrimination. It's the fact that you are discriminating against, if not just one individual, it's still discrimination.
Well, as you might know, Texas has been involved in lawsuits with the federal government over the last 2 years, particularly related to immigration and bringing in refugees, because our Governor Abbott, and I have been concerned about bringing in refugees that have not been vetted properly. They certainly weren't telling us any background on them, so that's been our concern. It's really about the safety and security of our citizens, and so the fact that Donald Trump came out and issued this travel ban actually was exactly what we were looking for. And certainly we didn't do it.
What about the question I'm asking, which is, certainly it cannot be that the Constitution doesn't care about discrimination even if it only hits a minority of people, which seems to be the Muslim reference in the brief.
Well, so this was a focus on countries that have some reputation for terrorism. This is identified by Congress in 2015. These were some of the countries that were...
They always fall back to that, okay? And they never tell you exactly what the purpose of the legislation was. It was to warn Americans, okay, that those countries were dangerous, and it did provide increased vetting for those individual countries. But no ban was ever enacted on them, okay? But they want to put out, it's not a false fact because Congress and the president did identify those countries, but they want to ascribe to it a different purpose than what was initially legislated on.
In their legislation. So I don't think it was surprising that President Trump looked at these countries. If you think about Iran, Iraq, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, these are countries where we have a history of terrorism, and so I think it's legitimate to consider the concerns of citizens first. and non-resident aliens last.
Right. Well,
Yeah, but they would have stood on firmer ground if they had included countries that had actually participated in terrorist acts against this country. But for whatever reason, i.e. Trump has business dealings in the countries that weren't put on the list, those it's 6 countries weren't added to the list. So they were specifically targeting these countries, and there was no basis for the targeting.
and the last question I want to get your response on is you're facing some trials of your own. A special prosecutor stating there'll be 2 trials related to alleged financial improprieties. I just wanted to get your view of, do you think it's fair that they're sort of splitting this into 2 trials, and what will your defense be?
You know, my defense is that I'm not guilty. So I would say it is.
That's not a defense, and I hope they nail his ass, because he was acting as a financial, advisor. Anyway, he was scamming people out of their money, and they caught him. So now he doesn't have just 1 trial, he's got 2. They're going to catch him on one of these things and hopefully drum his ass out.
It's definitely more costly to the taxpayers in my county to do it the way they're doing. Obviously, they get paid more if they do it that way, but it would be a better situation for my taxpayers if they just get this over with. And my preference would be to get it over with, because I'm looking forward to my day in court.
You're looking forward, do you consider it a legitimate trial, or do you think this is a political operation?
For me, it's been very political. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having my opportunity, and you'll see it'll be a good result.
Yeah, as always stated, anytime there's an attack against a politician, it's always political, except for the people that he screwed out of their money. Anyway, that's our asshole Attorney General, Ken Paxton.